fresh out the box. Stop, look and watch. Ready yet? Get set. It's all that.
Hey guys, y'all know the vibes, OD5s, Me Too Live, your favorite music influencer from the one and only Boston City of Champs, because all we do is win, and that's a fact. I got green Celtics on. I just love my city. And I'm here today with someone who, got roots in the city that I just found out, a little earlier. But just in general, puts on for Boston. And so does the people that be around him too as well. Give it up for Sadiq.
Hello everyone. Man, I'm really honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. Thank you for coming, I feel like everything happens for a reason. There's time and place for everything. I'm so glad that finally now we get to have, this episode and,
sure,
tell the world our perspectives, So yeah, how you been?
I've been good. Honestly, I can't complain. I feel like it was a really, really busy summer. And I've been trying my best to just be content with the slow time sometimes and when things do just kind of chill out, because, I could look ahead on the calendar and I'm like, dang, next month or the next couple of weeks is kind of crazy.
Right.
I really just be trying to, I try not to take it for granted.
For sure. And balancing, balance, just so key. I understand, it's kind of like when you're sick and, you appreciate the times when, you didn't have a stuffy nose. So it's one of those things.
That's exactly the feeling, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But, and crazy, literally last weekend of summer, too. So, yeah, we made it. So, you've dibbled and dabbled in so many different avenues, I feel like, just in general. So, I know you said, summer's busy, but I feel like, in general, you be busy. You be making stuff happen,
man, I try. I really try. I feel like I've always had so many different interests, and I do work in the entertainment industry, and I see that as this multifaceted thing. So, I always wanted to take a holistic approach. It was never I'm just gonna be a manager. I'm just gonna be someone working events or just doing this. There's a million things involved in that. There's a million jobs to hold around that. When you're making a career out of something, you should want to learn all the different pieces of it. You don't have to be an expert. But it's nice to have that awareness. So I try my best to just, dibble and dabble on everything. So.
No, yeah. I respect it. And it's I literally, call myself sometimes a jack of all trades, because it's I know I'm good in things. And it's I like to do things I enjoy. And, I feel like it just connects also to, purpose. I think that's just what I'm meant to do. And I think, that's what you're meant to do,
Thank you.
So, yeah. So, can you share a bit about your journey into the music industry and how you first became involved, especially with artist management?
Yeah, so I feel like before I get into the artist management stuff, it definitely started with my father. I feel like my father just instilled such a wonderful love of music, particularly hip-hop music, in me. And, even growing up, soul music, R&B, everything, you could be hearing, Martin through the crib or, anyone, Earth, Wind, and Fire, Sade, that's always going in the kitchen. Yeah, Temptations.
That was my dad.
He really put me on really early, and I always love and appreciated that, and that's something that we share, and, all of my uncles and aunts share. They always say, we're all very different, but we all have in common we love the same music. And, I like to think, even though there's not a lot of people in my family that are working in the entertainment industry or anything that a lot of them still try their best to, they can appreciate some of the work that I do. So, with the artist management piece, it really starts from just being a fan. I'm a huge fan, and the things that I like, I never stop talking about. So I remember I went to my first real concert was probably when I was It was the Forest Hills Drive tour with J. Cole.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Speaking of that, when that album came out, I literally because I feel like that was a time where it's like some people you knew in advance when the albums come out. Some people it's like it just dropped.
Yeah.
For me, it was one of those things that was like, oh, it's coming out. Okay, just dropped. I literally low-key skipped school. I skipped school and I just kept listening to it the whole day because it was just so good.
Right,
so
right.
Love J. Cole. That's so,
Yeah, I loved it. I was in this program at, so I went to Boston College undergrad, but the way I was admitted was that I had to complete a summer of classes before I could be fully accepted. And if I passed, I was in. So obviously I passed. But while I was there, I met this really wonderful girl named Kayla. And, we both love music. She was from LA. Cool. And we heard about the concert coming up. And she was like, yo, just buy your ticket. I'll figure out the Uber. Let's go. And up to that point, for the tickets we were looking at, I had never spent that much on a concert ticket, ever. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. It was probably $200, something up there, right? And I called my dad at the time because I'm a broke, not even college kid yet, right? So I'm like, yo, I kind of want to go to this concert, but I don't know if I should spend this money. And he was like, bro, if I was you, I wouldn't even ask me. What are you talking about?
My mom would have been like, ha, cheating, ha. $200 for
he was like
today.
Yeah, he was like, nah, go, what? So I was like, bet. So I went, and we were right behind GA. It was at the Xfinity Center. Oh, okay, and so we were right behind the GA section and playing it, and it was just the most incredible show ever. I loved it so much. I feel like I became even more of a J. Cole fan then because I'm like, that album really tells his story. He's talking about the things he went through, and it was beautiful, for real, and
so many different elements to it, that people can grasp. It's not just one, in a sense, genre, one mood.
Yeah, I mean, even the stage design, the set design, he had the house, he was sitting on top of the house and doing all that stuff. That's so dope. So it was dope, but I fell in love with that experience, and so when I actually started college, I started buying concert tickets just to have stuff to look forward to throughout the semester. So, I knew finals was coming up. I'm like, I hate this sucks, but you know what? I got something to look forward to. It's cool. I started doing that so often that I got tired of just being a regular attendee. I was like, I'm kind of tired of being in the crowd. I want to see what's going on behind, So I took a part-time job at the House of Blues, and that was my in. I was like, nah, I can see concerts all I want. And it was dope because I started seeing things that I wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. I know I probably wouldn't have gone to a Marshmello concert, or all these different artists, I've seen country street festivals and things like that. And I'm like, yo, just looking at the kinds of people and how many people it draws out, it just expands your palette and appreciation of all these different kinds of music.
And how they connect in different ways, because you said, it's like art.
Yeah.
And for me personally, my first ever concert was when I was really young, and it was the Kiss concert.
Oh, fire.
So, Kiss concert.
That's hard.
Yeah, and it's but as you said, but then as I transitioned, getting older, and going to concerts for real, I could definitely relate to that set life of having a set G Herbo having a street sign when he's performing, and then also transitioning going to in a word show or just somewhere else, and seeing their whole set design, and it doesn't matter what type of music. It's it's art, it's a production. So and it just, I don't know, I just really loved it, and I tried to be as involved as I could. But it came from just being a fan, I appreciated people, and I'm anytime I find new artists, I don't know, Baby Keem or Jid, when I was first hearing them, I would not stop talking about it. I had a massive speaker in my dorm, I'd be blasting new artists all the time. Period.
But the artist management piece really started with the poet that I work with. Her name's Mia Coleman, and she's super dope. We went to school together. Cool. I met her through something called the Ahana program, which was just the students of color on campus at BC, but she joined the Slam Poetry Club. And I just thought she was dope, so I was like, I gotta meet this girl, so I joined too. And we got to know each other, and I ended up telling her, after I heard her do poetry, I was like, yo, more people need to hear you, I just want to make sure that everyone really hears what you're doing and can appreciate it. And so one thing led to another, and I'd just be offering advice. I'd be like, hey, I think you should try and get on this stage, or I feel like it would be cool if you try this thing, you know?
Yeah.
Before we knew it, I ended up helping her book something with the Ayanna Pressley. Like, she performed for the Congressional Black Caucus, and, like, all these Congress members that flew in, and the mayor at the time, Marty Walsh. Like, it was fire.
Yeah.
And then I remember, like, right after we graduated, I told her that she should come back. Like, she actually did her master's, too. And then I was like, she moved back to Chicago, where she was from. And I was like, yo, you gotta come back. Like, there's this poetry festival going on, the Roxbury Poetry Festival. And I was like, I think you have a pretty good chance. So she flew up, had, like, some credits or something that, like, on her, whatever, JetBlue or whoever she flew with. And she came and did the performance, and she won. Wow. You know? And she got a book deal with Button Poetry.
Wow, that's poetry.
Yeah.
Oh, my Button Poetry. Oh, love.
And I was like, that was the first time I was like, yo, I could do this manager stuff. Yeah. Like, this is kind of hard. Like, it's just identifying opportunities and, you know, being a cheerleader for your people. It's like, that's what it is for me, you know? Like, I'm like, whether they had won or not, like, I'm your fan. Like, I'm like, you're lit. I want to see you go up. Like, I want to see more people appreciate what you have going on. And that's really how it started. And then, like, when it came to, like, you know, eventually working with Key, I was a huge fan of the Boston music scene. Like, you know, like, I always appreciated, obviously going to the House of Blues, I was seeing concerts all the time anyways. But when it comes to local artists, like, I've seen the artists that have been active for years. You know, like the Scizzes, the Sean Wyers, all the local DJs, you know, Brandy Blaze, like literally, oh my goodness, right? Like, Pistola, that's crazy. You know, but like all these people who have been doing it for years, you know what I'm saying? And,
Michael Christmas.
Yeah, and I just appreciated that. So I was always kind of watching the scene. I never really threw my hat in the ring, so to speak, right? And I don't know, I fell in, how it really happened is it started going through photography. So I've been shooting since I was 13.
Oh, wow.
Another passion my father introduced me to.
Wow.
Yeah, and I found myself, like, especially through the pandemic, like, shooting. Like, a lot changed in my life.
Were you shooting people, or was it just, like, what type of photography?
Like, a lot of event photography.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'll definitely say that. But it was like, I just felt like I needed to lean into something that I loved, because there was a lot of change in my life around that time, you know, from, like, I was transitioning out of school and I was working, you know what I'm saying? And
what was your major? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. When I was in college, my degree ended up being in applied psychology with a minor in comm and marketing.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it was super dope. I changed my major a million times. Like, for 90% of my college career, though, I was a communications major. Okay. But the first 10%, I was like, econ, this and that. Like, I tried computer science, like, everything. I was all over the place. But, yeah, it was the photography, and, like, I wanted to lean into something that I liked. You know, like, I had friends change. I had family friends pass away. I had, like, the pandemic was crazy for everybody, you know? For sure. Yeah, and I don't know. I just, like, started shooting a lot of local events. I tried to come around. One of the really noteworthy ones I remember was Shelly, camera girl. Okay. She had, like, her bash to celebrate, like, a year of her company, and it was at this park. And I hit her up. I was like, yo, like, I'm down to come and shoot it. Like, I'll do it for free. I don't care. I just, you know, I want to come around. And I just shot, like, everybody there and shared the pictures, and everybody wanted to see their pictures, so, like, they find out who shot them, and that's kind of how I started to get implemented in the community. But I also credit a lot of, like, Cameron and Steph who founded Thrill. They're, like, those are, like,
the Chambers thing.
Yeah. So they do a bunch of events and services. They work with a lot of local artists as well.
Yes, and they have that studio.
Yes. Okay. Thrill, and they're extremely multifaceted, multi-talented, and, you know, they're huge advocates for just community building, and I feel like they, like, really have their fingers on the pulse of Boston, especially the local music scene.
For sure.
And they're just the biggest advocates, and, you know, Cameron and I, it's so crazy. Cam and I were hanging out for, like, 6 months before we found out that we're actually cousins. like through a completely mutual family member in Atlanta that we were both talking to, and it was like, wait, Cam? I was like, yo, that's crazy, like, you know?
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Cam? That's them.
Yeah. It was so poetic because it was like,
Yeah.
I had a lot going on in my life, and then it's like, leaning into the things that you loved, I literally found family, you know? And I was like, wow, like, I love that. But it was through them, I got around people like Key, you know? And I don't know, like, we were just doing a lot of really cool stuff. And, like, I just remember, like, I found her music on Instagram.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, yo, this is fire. It was through a mutual friend. Oh, my goodness, I'm blanking on his name. He's going to hate me for this. Madsen. Maserati Maddie. I think it's Maddie, something, like Montclair Maddie, something like that on Instagram.
Shout out Maddie.
Yeah, but he had reposted his stuff because I guess they did a listening party for her first project, Baby Steps, and I just through him I like looked into it, listened to her music, and I was blown away. You know, like completely blown away. I was
she's
like,
a star for real.
I was like, this is different. Like it's fascinating. Like I just love it. It screams hip hop to me. It's like it's so Boston to me at the same time. Like it was very relatable. You know, like she's like my whole family's from Boston. I have both sets of grandparents here, like
Big
uncles
B's.
and aunts, like all types of people. And she's like there's a line. It's like, I'll be at my sister crib, my brother down the street. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'll be at my cousin's house. Like, that's crazy. Like, you know?
Yeah.
But, I don't know. I loved it. And I gave her flowers in her DMs. I was like, yo, you're fire. Like, I don't know what it is, but, like, I just wanted to tell you, like, please keep doing what you're doing.
For sure.
It was funny because I kept talking about it. And I'm like, same way I did in college and everywhere else. Like, I'm just chatting. I'm like, oh, yeah, you heard about this girl, Key? Whatever.
Yeah.
And I ended up playing at the after function party, whatever, after the bash for Camera Girl, and like it was only a handful of us, but we were listening to it. And they're like, "Yo, who is this? Like, she's hard, like da da da." And because I told Cam and Steph about it, they ended up telling our friend Rob. Rob puts in work about it.
Okay, I've heard it. Oh yes,
Yeah,
I know Rob.
and Rob was actually putting together the Future Forward Festival. I believe it was September 18th, 2021. And he ended up booking Key for that based off of like them like being like, yo, she's dope.
Communicating that, you know?
Yeah, and I was like, that's crazy. Rob also asked me to come and stage manage that day. So I was like, sure, bro, like I'm flattered. Like I'll support however I can. Yeah. And it was crazy because that ended up being the first thing that Key was ever asked to perform. Like, as an artist, you know?
Apart from her just, like, recording and stuff like that, like, next level type
exactly.
Thing. Yeah.
And so, it was crazy because, like, now this is her first performance, and I'm the person literally being like, hey, come on, it's your time to get on stage. Like, you know, like, that was weird, you know, looking back, but super dope, and you know, extremely grateful for all the people that made that possible, you know, so. Yeah. But yeah.
And the energy, because that's what connected everything and like put everything in its place where it was supposed to happen, how it was supposed to happen. Even you, that 24 hour of you checking that Instagram story, like everything connected and the energy just flowed. So.
It was crazy, man. And excuse me. Yeah, I don't know. It was like what happened after that? We just kind of kept ending up around each other, you know, like whether it was at like the Sound Lab and they're having events. Like I remember the first time after that I ran into her was at a cook-up at the Sound Lab, and I think Clark D was there. A bunch. There had to be like 70 to 80 people there. You know what I'm saying? And it was crazy because Key was one of like 2 or 3 women represented, and she was the only one in hip hop. And she was wrapping circles around people. Wow. So, like, I ended up approaching her, and I was like, yo, like, you had a dope performance. It's really nice to, like, formally meet for real. And, you know, if there's any way I can ever support you, like, let me know, you know. And we chopped up a couple times. I ended up, I think I got asked, like, Steph and Cam were inviting her around because they wanted to support her and like offer like music video advice or something like that, just to see like, you know, where her head was at and how they could help. Because that's just the kind of people they are. They want to be helpful, you know? So they invited me into those meetings, and I was like just happy to be in the room, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not thinking anybody's really going to listen to what I'm saying, but I'm like, yo, I think this would be cool. Yeah, so I'm sitting there in the room, and I'm just like, I'm like offering ideas and things that I think would be really cool, and we're getting like all excited about it and all this other stuff. And it was just sick because I guess she really liked my ideas, you know, and I was also just generally trying to be helpful. Like I remember I put together like a little EPK thing, like totally unsolicited, like she didn't ask me for anything, and I was like, yo, like you might need this, like it could help you potentially, you know, if you're trying to share your music and, you know, show people in a concise way like what you do, what you've done. And like she liked it. She told me like once I sent that to her, she cried, and I was like, I didn't even think I did that much. You know what I'm saying? Like I was like,
no,
whoa.
Yeah, it'd be like that.
You know, but she really appreciated. It was never lost on me. She was like, nah, but for somebody to just unselfishly like support my craft in a way that she hadn't experienced up to that point, she was extremely grateful. And, you know, I was happy to support like whatever small piece it is. I'm like, yo, I don't care. Just please do what you're gonna do and be as successful as you can. You know?
For sure.
So that's where it happened, and we just kept ending up around each other. Like we're at Grill, we're at wherever, and I guess she liked my energy. And at some point, she was like, hey, like, what do you think about artist management? You know, and it led to, like, 3 different conversations before we ended up being like, yeah, let's try our luck at this, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of history.
Right, history. Period, you know? Some people's watching history being made, some people's making it in the book. They in the books, you feel me? So, you know, it's definitely, like, clearly... Yeah, you're in the books. And I think, like, I love how you talk about, like, support and stuff like that because, you know, like, I understand, like, how it is to, like, be an artist and stuff like that. And just in general, artists need support because it's very releasing your music to the world, releasing your art, releasing your thoughts. That's vulnerability, you know? So having like a support team and it's something that I'm kind of like really big on is like dream team, make the team work. That's why I've always been like a fan of like kind of G Herbo when he's always like dream team because it's like I feel like it's a representation of like I know I'm a winner.
Yeah.
I want you to win because I know you're a winner. Yes. Let's all be winners kind of type timing. And then another thing in perspective, and I can definitely relate, where it's like, I definitely am a person who is like, I like to see the bigger picture and things, you know? Sure. And I also, like, I currently work for a project management company and stuff, and like, it's taught me so much different things, but it really put a different perspective for me of like how the music industry is. Okay. And like even me being like doing music management and doing other things that are still related to like music, but I might not look like the typical star. Okay. I realize that everyone's a star, just like I said, everyone's a winner. Yeah. So it's like music is a project. Certain things are just projects. I feel everything's just kind of like a project, but it's like everyone's throwing in a piece to make it like an A kind of type timing. It's like, even though like you're not singing, but like there's some type of art that you bring. Your energy is art. So you bring something to the table kind of to make everything like piece together. Yeah. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. So that's what I love about like music, how like like you said, we need cheerleaders. Yeah. And cheerleaders, like the cheerleaders were necessary. Like everything's necessary. That's all I had to say. But yeah, I just love that and can definitely connect to like even the reason why I wanted to do like management. I wanted to just I see how like you're doing something and then there's certain skills that I have, like organization or just like putting ideas on the table that I want to like bring so that we can make something bigger. For sure. You know what I'm trying to say?
For sure, yeah. Yeah. And I've always kind of felt like that too because it's funny, but like now that I'm remembering, I did try my hand at supporting a bunch of other creatives. Like during the pandemic, actually, one of the things that I got into, I was working with my homie T-Wayne. He goes by Kid Wizzle. He's a producer, and he was trying to put together this group called Kid FM. And he had like a bunch of producers like Boo, who's he works very closely with the Club Indigo guys, a couple of people out of Atlanta, one guy out of Tennessee. There were a handful of people. It was fire, you know. Like they did little photo shoots together, and we were trying to do all these different things. And it didn't pan out for a couple of different reasons, but like, you know, a couple small placements came out of that, which was super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And like I never worked with producers for real before. Like
Right.
I did have a homie named Turtle. I still rock with him. That I was trying to help him with things and just get his paperwork together and stuff like that. And that was cool. That was an experience. But when it came to like other friends who were artists who, you know, I was trying to be like, hey, like this is what I think about this.
Yeah.
I feel like we were just a little bit too. It was either like the relationship, like we were too close. Where they're like, like okay, that's your advice, but yeah, whatever, Sadiq. You know, like we're homies. You know, like sometimes
for sure.
There's the air of professionalism about it. You gotta. It has to be somewhat of a slight separation. Like that proximity does impact it. So
I agree.
Those were experiences, and I feel like with someone like Key, we just hit the sweet spot where it was like, you know, I don't know you all that well. Of course, we became great friends and like. Speak almost every day, you know, like she's like family, you know, but it's also like we have that understanding, especially in the beginning when we were trying to like set good boundaries and figure out what that looks like, because we even to this day disagree a lot on all types of things, but we can disagree and disagree productively and constructively, you know? And with some people, like especially if you're very close to them, whatever the nature of the relationship is, if you're too close to them, you might not be able to have that objectivity.
For sure.
You know? So I feel like I really appreciate that about us. And just the fact like it's a huge responsibility, like for someone to put any degree, like any level of their career in your hands. And trust you with that. Like, that takes an immense level of trust and all these things. And for her to instill that in me or entrust me with that is beautiful, you know? So I try to take that seriously. I try to, you know, put the time and energy that I would want somebody to put into me. And I also just extremely grateful, like, I have someone listening, you know? Because I'm like, you know, not everybody finds what I'm going to say valuable. But the people that do, you know, like I don't know. I guess it worked out. You know? So.
Yeah, that's so dope. That's so cool. So, I know that you know you're a little CEO of Seasoned Media Group, SMG. And you know, it definitely, like, because like I have a digital creative agency, so I can like testify to, you know, being multifaceted and like combining what my passion, but also combining my skills and just also what makes sense together. And I feel like that's kind of what SMG is about. But like, how did SMG go about and start, and like kind of when, you know, when in the timeline, you know?
That's fire. So it started in college.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's funny. Seasoned is an acronym. So it stands for Sadiq, which is me, Zach, and Nana. Daily. Yeah. And it was just the culmination or the combination of like a bunch of skill sets. So like my friends knew me as a networker. I worked on a lot of events. I tried to just connect dots, you know. My friend Zach was a producer, you know, and he was always interested in like trying to learn to engineer and all these different things and recording music as an artist. And then there was our homie Nana, who also wanted to be an artist but was interested in similar things, but he's like a prolific writer, you know, so he was always like doing incredible stuff with that. And we just wanted to kind of combine our talents, and I was like, yo, like, can we do something together?
Right.
And it became that, you know, we were trying to figure out what we could do and it would look really cool, like, moving forward, but it was also like, I knew college was a temporary experience, and I always told myself, like, you know, we'll go our different paths and directions, but I feel like business and projects keep people together. So that was one thing that I really wanted to do to try and keep my homies together. And, you know, they're still around. Like, all of us are based in Boston. When we can, we try to get together. But, yeah, that's kind of how it started. And it was just cool. Like, I don't know, we just do different events. I remember there was one event so we were all on the Black Student Forum at Boston College, and we tried to we were reviving a concert series called Neo Soul Night. Okay. And so we ended up booking Toby Lou, which is a Chicago artist that I really loved, and they were instrumental in like helping me make that happen, as well as like the club and a bunch of other people. And it was just like, that was our little project where like people came from like as far as New Hampshire and like Connecticut, and I'm like, damn, we got to stand out this little college room. Like, yo, they're gonna come see this show. It's dope. But yeah, I don't know. It was just crazy, and I was like, we should keep doing this. Like, it's cool. Like, we have relationships we're building in the city and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I was just also like really, really inspired by people around me who were doing wonderful work. You know, like the Ross Friedmans and the Simon Chaselaws. Like, those are idols of mine. You know, and I love that most of my friends. This is actually consistent across like most of my friends. I admire all of them. You know, so I'm like, I don't want to imitate or emulate you, but I feel like I should be trying to level up and try my hands at different things too. And those were friends of mine I saw build companies and really like execute on it and do really well. So like I was just trying to do something similar, and I wanted my own little imprint. I want my name on something. So,
Right.
Yeah, that's
Creating
how
a
I started.
legacy. So,
Yeah, it's interesting because nowadays I keep the SMG. You know, but I've somewhat rebranded it more internally, and this will probably become more public, is as something made great.
Ooh.
You know?
Because, yeah, I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
You probably have, because it's just like, I don't know, I just thought about how, like, you know when somebody, you'll be doing whatever you're doing, like maybe if you're an emerging artist, whatever, and they're like, I don't know what you got something. like, you know, it started somewhere, and it's just like, that inkling, that feeling, whatever, like, you kept working at it, and now look at it. You know, so that's how I feel.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. I love that. So you know, I understand, and I think it's great that you value community, value Boston, because you know it's where you come from. You always gotta look out where you come from.
For sure.
You know, to build and engage local fans, like just in general, like local fans or supporters. You know. How would you say is the best way to seeking and creating meaningful partnerships and collaborations? Because like you've definitely done so. Yeah,
it's community. That's the only answer. You know, like when I look at the Stephs and the Cams, like linking up with those guys, like they have real love for everything that they do. You know, and finding people who truly share your passions, I feel like is so rare. You know, so when you're like vibrating on the same level, or like you just have that mental connection where it's like some stuff doesn't even need to be explained, like you just get it, those guys get it, you know. And when you find other people like that and it'll really align, like there's no reason not to connect, you know. And I feel like it happens very naturally. Like there's a lot of things that people have tried to do and it feels inauthentic, and like I'm not a big fan of that. Like I'm very much stuff happens for a reason. Go with the flow, like that's kind of how I've been my whole life. And the things that feel right, like I just feel it in my gut, you know. So especially if it's like if I develop a relationship or rapport with somebody and I know what they have going on, or I know a little bit more about them, their family, their background, whatever it is, I'm like, I know what you come from, I know what you're going for, you know what I'm saying? We can make it make sense, you know, and we connect, like we can talk to each other. Sometimes it's like it's just instinct. Like, you just feel it. You're like, oh, yeah, they cool. Like, I don't going to think too much about it. But, you know, I don't know. It's a feeling. Definitely a lot of feeling-based. But, yeah. You talking to try and answer your question a little more directly. When it comes to, like, building fans and stuff, it's definitely being in community. Yeah.
And like being involved, it seems like, because it seems like you're always like somehow trying to be involved wherever the community may be, because it's like we're all part of different communities. Just like you said, you know, you take pictures, you're part of, you know, you're in the camera community, you know, you're from Boston, you're part of the Boston community. So it's like, but it's like your community might not always be the same every day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? So it's like you said, it's energy, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like, what is the feeling right now, you know? So it's like, what is the feeling right now to like connect? Because then we start to realize like we're all connected, and there's something that connects us, kind of kind of like how you talked about, just for some reason, like you and Cam, you guys connected to find out you're really connected.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say? So
okay, I know what it is. I got you. It's shared love for similar things. I say that and like recognizing the importance of those things to other people. Like the same way I can look at an artist or someone like Key, like, and see the different things that they have going on and how much they care about those things.
Yes.
I feel like I'd be doing an incredible disservice if I don't think about it the same way.
For
you
sure.
know, so like for an example, like a Cam and Steph, I'll never forget this as long as I live. There's a neighborhood block party that I grew up doing in my neighborhood. My father actually helped organize the very first one. It was to commemorate some folks that had passed away in the late 90s that were murdered, and their murders were never solved. And they did this every year to commemorate them and just bring the community together and to celebrate peace. And it went on every year until 2015 when the more recent organizer passed away as well. And like after 5 years of not doing it, so 2021, I was like, nah, like I miss that. Like I grew up every year around Carnival weekend, like they'd do this crazy block party and they would have the whole community outside. And I was like, I really missed that. That was something as a kid that I cherished. It really, you know, showed me the neighborhood in a really authentic way. And just to see all these black people gathering.
Yes.
And so, like, I wanted to bring that back. I wanted to see my little cousins out on the street and hanging out. And it wasn't even, like, super big. You know, I got a lot of flack from the old heads for trying to do it. And, like, all this other stuff. And I
But, you know, your intention was
I knew my intention was in the right place. So I was just trying to do all these different things. And it was really frustrating. And I remember, for whatever reason, like, I couldn't leave a porta potty I ordered, like, at one of my family's house. So Cam and Steph and them let me store it at their crib. And I'm not even thinking about how the hell, they're not far from each other, right? Like, but I'm like, how the hell am I going to get this porta potty over here? And then the day of, I see Steph, Cam, I want to say Sabo, and maybe one other person helping push this porta potty down the street on a freaking, like gurney or whatever, the little thing, like, and I was like, oh yeah, y'all got love forever, you know, forever, because I'm like, even this one thing, you know, y'all cared so much about the details and helping me, like, bring this small experience to life, and I'm like, I know you get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just know you get it. And we've had so many, like, late night conversations, just vibing, like, talking, all that. Like, we really vibe with each other for real, you know? And I got real love for those guys. Real love for those guys. And it's stuff like that. So when we see them, like, that's why I'll do my best to be at every single chamber if I can. I'll do my best to support. Like, they'll bounce ideas off of me because we really respect each other's thought processes and we want to contribute to things. Like, how can I add value? How can I be helpful? You know? Because it means something to them. And if I see something that means something to somebody else, I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to push you. I'm gonna be your cheerleader. You know what I'm saying? Like I like people that are cheerleaders for each other. And, you know, it's not like I'm the closest with everybody that's around me, but the people, we have this, like, unspoken thing. It's like we all get it. We all appreciate these same things. You know? So I have to honor and respect that.
Period. If you know, you know. One of those type things. So, you know, community definitely still there, and that's something that I see as a trend still in Boston, in terms, especially in the music scene. But I definitely feel like overall Boston's music scene has evolved. From your perspective, have you noticed, like, any changes with the Boston music scene and stuff? Or, like, I don't know, like, because, like remember, as soon as we said Pistola, it was like, what a time.
It's been a minute, man. Honestly, like, I'll tell you what I've heard. Okay. Right? So, speaking to, like, people who have been in the scene way longer than me, you know, and people who are newer that I've noticed, you know, younger people coming up, they say the community is incredible. You know, like, the it's a different feeling. Like, I don't know if there would be a lot of conversations around, like, oh, people don't support Boston artists, or this and that, but it's like, if you literally look around, it's impossible not to see and feel that support. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I can say any of the shows we were going to, you know, like, I see the same some of the same faces, like the same 10 people in front row every time.
Period.
You know, that's been supporting since day one.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen it with Key's fans. I've seen it with so many other people's fans. I've seen it with the events that we put together, the private functions and parties we put together. Like, there's love there, you know, and I think it comes back to, you know, honoring that shared appreciation of music and whatever else that we're working towards and building, and just pouring into each other. You know, like there have been days where I feel like crap, you know, and there are people who are doing their best to uplift me, and I appreciate that. Like, that's not lost on me, you know, like this is very much, I don't want to say a game of friends. It's just people with a lot of love, you know, and I feel that love, and I feel like it's appreciated. There's a lot of respect. The other thing I say is this definitely feels like one of those, I don't want to say art rap eras, like, it's like a small renaissance, you know? Like, I feel like after the pandemic, everybody, like, I knew this for a fact in event, just being an event, because I saw how it literally shut our whole world down.
For sure, like,
everything was on hold. I was like, people are going to come out with a lust for life. People are going to want to interact with each other. People are going to, all the things they took for granted, they're going to pay attention to. You know, they're going to appreciate people a little bit more. And, you know, maybe we're a little rough around the edges. We lost 2 years, but I know people, I feel like I try my best to identify people's intentions. So, yeah.
So around when did you, so like it seems like kind of like how you've been explaining, and like kind of just what I've observed and noticed and like seen, kind of you and Key started working together after the pandemic.
2021, probably like towards the end of 2021.
Wow.
So we I feel like, I want to say like maybe like October, November, we kind of like wanted to talk about working together. I'm trying my best to remember really the exact timing, but we worked together for like, I told it, let's take like 3 to 6 months, just like on some trial stuff, so you can see like if I can, what I can do for you, if anything, you know what I'm saying? Because this was the first time I'm managing a recording artist, right? So I was like, I want to make sure I can show up in the ways that I can. I'm not trying to lock you into anything. Like, I don't want to do that. You know, very much, let's feel each other out. If it makes sense, we'll continue. And I want to say around January of 2022, we solidified a relationship, and that's when we met. Actually.
Yeah, I was going to say it's around. I'm like trying to like jog the timeline as well too, because that's like around where doing that type of events.
And it was also just like, you know, during that time it was winter. We both had a lot going on personally, so it was just like for real showing up and being as supportive as I could through both of our different lives, like ups and downs, you know, and I think we both really appreciate that foundation we built before we really solidified a relationship with like a business relationship with each other. So
understandable. Cool. So what do you believe sets Key apart in the music industry, or like particularly in Boston? Because I know you express like she's different stuff, like I see it, like there's different things like Key, I see it, but you know it's also good to like hear like what you think, kind of. And
well, the very first thing I'll say is women are winning. I always knew, like, if you looked at the music industry around that time, like Meg, Cardi, freaking Flo is just starting, Family is starting to come out, like all these there's tons of R&B women, but like hip hop, like they were running shit, you know, and I just love that, and I was like, wow, like I'm already knowing women are gonna be the future of hip hop, like I already really felt like I had a conviction about that, but with Key, I don't know, man, she's so swaggy, but like still very much like creative, and like you can't put her in a box, you know. I feel like she can appeal to a lot of different people, not just because of her sound, but because of her personality, you know. Like a lot of people, I feel like there's not really a huge difference between Kiana and Key, you know, but I got to know the person Kiana first, and Key comes from the community. You know, she went to BLA with like half of the other artists in Boston,
Yeah.
and it's
Oh
like,
yeah, and I love seeing those posts that she, like, even the shows that she does with Clark, like, oh hey, I'm coming back to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, that community involvement is key.
That's
so, yeah.
huge, you
Yeah.
know, like being like when this was coming up, they're like everybody's favorite cousin. Like,
Yeah.
you know, in Boston, you got them fake cousins.
You see
know,
how
like,
everything connects?
You know, no,
Cousins fit. Like,
but for real, like,
Yeah.
it's like that. Like, she was very much in the community. And, you know, I feel like a lot of people sometimes create, it's impossible to create in a vacuum, is what I want to say, right? And I think Key recognizes that. I think when she creates, it's from a very authentic place, but it also comes from all of her experiences. And I consider both of us like butterflies in a sense. Like, Key can walk between any community. Everyone's gonna like her. Like that, I've seen it, you know, it just is what it is. I've always felt like that. I've never felt like pigeonholed into one specific community.
Yeah,
I know I can go, I mean, for those of us who went to PWIs and stuff, like we know how to navigate, you feel me, the different spaces.
For
so
sure.
it's
like you said, like kind of how you talked about, like you can be in different, like wherever you're at, that becomes community. It's like about what is the energy that is connecting that community, like you was talking about. So I know what you mean.
It's so many different things with her though. Like it's like I said, it's her personality, it's her thoughtfulness, it's her rawness. Like seeing raw energy like that. Me personally, I can't identify other artists that have made me feel that way. But the biggest thing for me that made me a cheerleader of hers is how much I personally identify with her story, you know, and that's something that I always paid attention to and kept in mind, because it's like, bro, you are doing this for all of us Boston kids. You're champion for kids like us who just want better and maybe have been through some BS and, you know, have really, really good hearts. And I don't know, I just feel like when I seen that, I was like, I have to tell the world about that.
For sure.
You know, or at least help tell the world.
right. Something. Every effort counts and it leads somewhere, you know? Especially, like I said, with intention. And also, so like, what are key things that people who are aspiring to be managers or feel like, you know, they have that eye or, you know, are those cheerleaders in the world?
Yeah.
How should they look for artists, or what should they look for in artists?
I feel like this is just one perspective, but I feel like they need to be a big fan. Like sometimes it takes more than belief, right? That's what a lot of people will say. I disagree, respectfully. Like I see where they're coming from with that, but I'm just such a believer. Like I had a conviction, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is it, you know, and doing whatever I can to help move closer to that, you know. Like I feel like people go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of like I feel like there's so many different mantras and to say, but it's like something, and it literally comes from the Bible. Is like faith without work is dead. So it's kind of like faith, which is believing, and then like putting in that work. So like putting in some type of action to drive it forward is what manifests things out, and just what makes why the world works.
And the other thing that I'll say about that, and this was actually huge when Q and I were starting to figure out how we would work together, is I think we both approached it like we wanted it to be a reciprocal relationship, you know? So it's like I had a bunch of relationships from the stuff I was doing and experience in events and marketing and just doing every little thing I can to try and just gain experience. I never knew I'd end up in artist management. Like I just cheerleading, but I also, hey, I know the booking guy, or I know they're trying to do this, or I know what they're looking for. Hey, I'm taking comm classes. Like I see what it's like to write a press release or do these different things, right? So it's like I knew all that. Key is an incredibly talented artist, and you know she was a hustler before I seen her. It's like almost just throwing stuff at the wall, like what's gonna work. Like I just want to try, and I seen that work ethic, and I'm like I respect that a lot. I feel like what you have going on is incredible. Maybe I can help you refine it. But the other thing about it is it was reciprocal, because I'm like I can bring my skill set to you and try to support and educate you on these different things and experiences that I have, but it also helps me, you know, leverage the relationships I already have. Like, I might have met that booking guy or met, you know, whatever, this crazy photographer and these different things. Right. But, you know, I'm not working on projects with them. Or like maybe the extent of our relationship only goes so far. Like I'm not an artist.
Right.
I'm not gonna book myself to go and perform. I'm like, no, you know. But it's like, hey, this super talented artist. I want to introduce you to this person. This is a friend of mine. I like both of you. Meet, you know, like it's just connecting dots.
I know what you mean.
You know,
and it's like almost like kind of we kind of talked about like the star. It's kind of like you're a star too, and it's kind of like Key also helps you, just like how those other like everyone helps each other somehow, some way to draw out that artistry. So it's like you connecting with Key is also helping your artistry what you got going on as well. So that's dope. And,
but it's very unselfish though, because it's like I said, the thing that underlines all of that is that I'm a fan of you. You know what I'm saying? I don't care about whatever else comes around it. Like we can move towards these goals that we set for ourselves and whatnot. But it's like I want to see you win. You feel me? And I've said it from day one. I'm like, it doesn't matter what happens in the future. I'm like, I want Kiana to be successful. You know what I'm saying? And that's how I feel about all my homies. Like, I don't care what it is. I'm like, bro, you're going to do whatever you do, but I want to support you. I want to make sure you're good. You know what I'm saying? And I have a lot of love for everyone that I work with, you know, so.
Period. Love that.
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like it's very crucial to finding the right balance between, you know, passion and personal well-being. And I feel like the music industry can be demanding.
Oh my goodness.
Being a manager can be demanding. And, you know, there's even so many different types of managers. Is like, you know, as you start to get into certain industries, you start to learn like, oh, okay, because I, you know, had that experience of understanding and learning that. But back to the point of, you know, the music industry can be very demanding. So how do you maintain like a healthy work-life balance, you know, managing artists, managing events, and just staying
honestly
ahead?
I think I can do it way better. I feel like I can be better than I am now. Listening to your body, listening to yourself, you know, like there would be times where I'd crash and I'm like, because I'd be on the go so often doing so many different things, overextending myself, you know, just too much, you know. And it took experience learning like, damn, my body's going to stop me at some point, you know. And you just have to sit down, and in learning to ride those waves of energy, like you'll get to a point where you have to say no, because it's like I have too much in my hands. My rule of thumb now is if taking on anything else impacts my ability to fulfill like pre-existing commitments, then I've reached my bandwidth. You feel me? Like I can't do anymore. And it took a long time to like practice that.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But
no, I understand.
Yeah.
And especially coming from like when you're like a really nice person, or you know you have a good, you're a good soul person.
Yeah.
You don't want to sometimes like disappoint people.
Yeah.
So it's like you start to overthink, and I know how it, like, you know, start to overthink. But I feel like it connects back to the conversation, things we've been talking about today with like intention and like still wanting the best for people.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes you have to understand how you're feeling in the moment so that you can show up as the best for other people, so that other people can just prosper as well. Yeah, so when I do realize that, so sometimes when other people in a sense tell me no, or like can't do something, or just not aligning, I don't even complain. I'm like, you know what it is, because it's like I know you know what I'm trying to say, and I realize that I try to think like it's not coming from a ill-witted place.
Yeah, no.
So
you know.
that's, you know, and I feel like it's just it's a journey, and I'm glad for that, because I would want someone just to think the best of me, just like how I'm going to think the best for you.
Yeah.
So.
And I think it's very important to recognize where those sentiments come from, because it's like, it comes from a people-pleasing space. It comes from needing to develop better personal boundaries, you know, and these are all things that I recognize personally, and I feel like I got a little bit better with, you know, like I know what it looks like now, a better idea of what it's like to protect my peace, you know, what I need to feel whole, what I need to make sure I'm right, you know, like, and recognizing sometimes throwing yourself into too many things, like, what are you ignoring? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you trying to move away from, if anything? So it's like, I feel like I move towards just trying to find peace in all facets of my life. Like that's extremely important to me. And yeah, like I try not to overextend, because I also realize, like, when you recognize your power, like if I can do all of this and I'm stretched thin to like 10% of me left, what happens if I put 80% into this one thing?
Yeah.
You're powerful, you know? So like, don't discount yourself. Recognize that. Take time, you know, appreciate the downtime. I will say sometimes it is important to like throw yourself into all these different things to find out what's not for you. You'd be like, that took way too much time, way too much energy. I wouldn't do it like that again if I did do it, you know? But you have an awareness. I mean, you gotta learn. Like, nobody just comes out just knowing these things, you know? Like, either somebody's told you or it's in practice, like you experienced it.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful that I've learned. I'm also very blessed to have people around me that know when to tell me, like, yeah, bro. Like, I don't know, I'm around a lot of workaholics, but...
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, you know, but I also feel like there are people around me who know me well enough to be like, I love you, you need to chill the fuck out. You know, like relax.
No,
like,
yeah.
So, yeah.
No, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, for sure. So, you know... crazy. So, you know, I kind of, you know, want to foresee the future a little bit.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've heard or been seeing, but I might be a little bit wrong in certain areas, but right for the most part. There is like a person, I want to say she came from like Chicago or Atlanta or somewhere, but she kind of was like the director of something when it came to like the nightlife of
Sheena Collier. Or if it's not her, it's
Coming to Boston, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I know
you know exactly what. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to say it's Sheena Collier, but it might be somebody else. I could be so wrong.
Right. So when that whole drop of like them trying to change the nightlife in Boston, I've been seeing, you know, different things in media, people talking about the nightlife.
Corrine Reynolds is her name.
Yeah, her. Yeah. So that whole situation.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, people, like, crazy how we were just talking about, like, the nightlife and earlier, especially today. Just in general, how the nightlife has grown, you know, especially the hype now, you know, with different people who have contributed to that in Boston. How do you see the future of, like, nightlife in Boston? Or just in general, like, events when it comes to Boston? Because also another thing is, like, it's so easy for people to be like, oh yeah, LA. We know LA artists.
Yes.
Atlanta. We know LA. We know Atlanta sound. Like, we can depict, because that's kind of how sounds are. It's kind of based off of your environment.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, we can depict that. And I feel like there are certain artists where I can depict and be like, yeah, that sounds like Boston. Or I hear you sound like Boston.
Yeah.
But, like, what do you think is kind of, like, how do you feel about where the future is going for, like, Boston events? Like, you know?
I'm not going to pretend like I know. But I will say what I feel is that it's in a beautiful place. I feel like, I think there are a lot of people that are aging out, and I feel like there are a lot of people like us younger folks who are stepping into some of those roles. And we're recognizing, like, this is archaic, like, what the hell is going on? Like, we need to do something differently. Like, things that people have been complaining about for a very long time. Like, why don't we have the first T train system in America. Like, be first, you know what I'm saying? Like, and we don't have 24-hour trains. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That makes no sense at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, so many people rely on it. We should have 24-hour train service. If we have 24-hour train service, we should have 24-hour services, you know, other than a McDonald's. You know what I'm saying? Like, what else can we do?
Like Boston Bowl. Like,
we're one of the top, like, 10 music markets. Like, when we're looking at all of these different, you know, we have, like, all these college students here.
Yeah,
young
Berkeley.
people. Yeah, like, I mean, Berkeley's there, which is cool, but it's like there's some of the most prestigious universities in the world are here.
Literally.
You know, like, we attract people for that, for education, and all these different things. But it's like, you work hard, we can't play hard too. Like, what's going on with that? You know, like, I feel like as college, I used to feel bad for people, because when you have college towns, it's a lot of people who are not from there.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
I'm very blessed in that, even though I went to school here, I'm from here, so the BS I always see on campuses, they're like, there's nothing to do, this and that. I'd be like, alright, bro, like, I'm from here, I'm leaving, like, I'm gonna go find the cool stuff to do, I'm gonna go hang out on this other campus, like, whatever, you know, I never had that problem, but it's like, a lot of people just don't know, and it's because they come from the Miamis, the New Yorks, the wherever is where they're like, well, this is just normal to me here, like, da-da-da, and they come and they're like, this city sucks. And it's like, I'm not gonna take that because I'm from here, but like I'm hard pressed to find ways to challenge that, because I'm like, you know what? The way somebody described Boston to me that I appreciate, because both sets of my grandparents are from here. They're like, no matter what you do, because it's so historic and all these different things, Boston's gonna feel like your grandmother's living room.
Oh.
But the thing about it is, you can find candy in the cool spots. So it's like, you just gotta know. And I feel like what we're moving towards is people starting to make it less of, oh, you just need to know thing. You know, we want it to be a little bit more open. We want it to be a little bit more obvious. You know, like, you don't want to have to scratch and look and turn over everything to find something cool. Like, and I also feel like with those people stepping up, like, I really appreciate what Mayor Wu did. Like, she did a historic investment in the arts and being like, we need more things. This year alone, we see Goldfest. We see, you know, Stiz about to do his festival. We see all these things popping up, like just things down, like big DJ sets and stuff in downtown Boston. Like, there's a lot of people from here that don't even know there's black people. Like, or from outside of Boston that don't know there's black people here. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Like, what? Like, I'm gonna make Malcolm X used to run around Roxbury. Like, y'all need to see more of it. And I feel like through the arts is one way that we're able to do that. I feel like we're gonna move towards more experiences like that. And I'm here for it.
I'm here for it too.
For real. Especially if I got anything to do about it. Like, don't let me start signing checks. like I'll be like, oh yeah, drop it on the homies. Let's go crazy. Like, yeah.
No, I agree. I'm excited for it too. I'm ready for it. And I definitely do feel like it's going to open the door to more opportunities. And, you know, like, let people understand the Boston culture for real. Like, you know, and I do, like, it sometimes does pain me when people be like, oh, Boston sucks. I'm like, there's nothing, like, I'm a big fan of LA. Like, I love California. Like, I'm a Cali girl at heart, you know? But at the end of the day, I'm from Boston, so I can never hate, like, where I come from, for real, you know? Because there's good and bad in everything, you know? But at the end of the day, it's a choice of, like, sometimes, for the most part, it's a choice of, like, what you want to remember or what you want to, like, go about it. So, like, anytime I'm not in Boston, I'm from Boston, like, people, like, all my ATL friends and stuff, they know how I be. They be making fun of me because I'm like, I'm from Boston. So it's like, yeah, like, I really do hope that this gives people another reason to love Boston, love where they come from, if they couldn't see the other things that are great about Boston, or if they let the negative about Boston overshadow. You know what I'm trying to say?
What I encourage people to do, particularly college students, and I'm going to sit on a couple panels soon, so I'm going to say this exact same thing. Step outside of your campus. You're in a major city, you know, even though it might not seem like it because you're not in New York, Houston, you know, Atlanta, wherever. It has its own culture. Go and feel it. Go experience it. You feel me? Talk to people who are from there. You know, you'll see so much more. There's so many people who know nothing about Boston. A lot of people didn't know for real about Brockton until there's people, like, more recently putting it on the map.
Yeah,
unless you're from here. Unless you're from here. You know, some people, like, they'll find it, oh, yo, there's Cape Verdeans here, what's that? Like, you know, and I'm like, that's normal, bro. Go outside. Like, you know, like,
every day.
Don't be pigeonholed. And the same goes for anybody that's only in their neighborhoods. You feel me? Like, I've been running around since I was, like, 8 years old on the T, every neighborhood. Like, I'll ride the T to the end of the road. Like, it doesn't matter. Just keep trying things, keep experiencing people, keep seeing what's going on. You know, I think it's very important that you just build up an awareness, you know, because a lot of people come in and have no awareness, but then they start making judgments, and I think that's crazy.
So, before we head out, you know, you've been spitting gems all night, but is there any good vibes of wisdom that you'd like to give? And this can be, you know, specific to a specific community, or this can just really be to anyone. This can be to your homies. It can be to whatever. Just good vibes of wisdom, just for people to, you know, remember. For real.
Wisdom. Man, I've received so much over the past, like, couple of years. I really want to think about this one. Because there's a couple, like that one I said earlier about, like, if you can't, you know, if taking on something else. Oh, okay. I tell this to everybody. So this one is deal with reality on reality's terms. You feel me? You might not like the things that are in front of you, but when you wake up, it's still gonna be there. We can be really idealistic people. We can move towards things. We can, you know, feel like the world should be different, but we still have to face what's in front of us. And if you do that every day, and even if it's really small, do something to try and change it, then your reality is going to change. But you have to address what's in front of you first. Even if you think it doesn't, you know, meet your expectations or anything like that, like, nothing great was built in a day. So work at it every day, follow your dreams, sleep a little less. Yeah, you know, you have plenty of time for that. But yeah, like, just look at the world and appreciate it for what it is, in its beauty and even in the ugly moments too.
That's dope. That's amazing. That's beautiful. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for, you know, I'm glad to have experience to hear that as well. And yeah, I think that's a wrap.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, thank you for being here and, yeah, sharing your perspective. All the vibes when you're looking for vibes.